Hey, this is Adam Torres, and I'm here to tell you that it has never been easier to start your very own podcast. At Mission Matters, our goal is to amplify stories that matter. That means we want to help you start your podcast because your story matters. We can do this in 3 different ways. 1, join our podcast school and take a free or paid course. 2, visit our resources page where we've already figured out what you need, such as where to host your podcast. Or 3, heck, we can even do everything for you through our podcast agency, including editing for cheaper than you can do in-house. Oh, and no contract, service is month to month. Get started by heading over to missionmatters.com and click on Start a Podcast. All right, now let's get into the show.
Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Startup Garage Podcast, your source for all things startups. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Efraim Burgos on the line. He's founder over at Action at a Distance. Efraim, welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. How's it going?
Oh, man, so I'm excited about today's topic. So this podcast, I mean, a lot of people listening that are either startup founders, want to start a startup, or maybe they're kind of in the middle of thinking if that's the right path. And so our topic today, importance of training for startups. I don't think we talk about it often enough, so we're going to get into that. But before we do, just to give the audience a little bit more of your background, tell us a little bit more about what you're doing over at Action at a Distance, please.
Yeah, so certainly we work with companies that basically have started either their own businesses or in the beginning stages, whether they're in the beginning of the seed funding, or companies that have been around for about 2 or 3 years, requiring a little bit of help with managing skills, specifically with senior managers. Managers have been tasked to manage large departments or specific functions that sometimes are really good at what they do in terms of their hard skills, but not so good in terms of their soft skills.
And I think that's a great transition. So let's just dive into today's topic. So importance of training for a startup, I think sometimes that's overlooked in the overall plan. So what's been your experience? Let's just get right in there.
Sure. Usually, so I'll give you a little bit of a backdrop. My background is extensive. It goes back as, well, I don't want to date myself, but it's over 20 years in training and development, working for many companies in different sectors, both finance, technology, profit, and not-for-profit. The one thing that's common across the companies that I've had the opportunity to be involved with is that usually we hire for, or they hire for, very, very specific skills, whether it's selling, whether it's, engineering, whether it's programming, whether it's customer support. But the one thing that seems to be common across all those fields is really the inability, if I want to call it that, for a lot of people to interact and really deal with each other. They're very siloed, very focused on one goal or a set of goals. But when it comes to the communication, when it comes to managing their ability to communicate with other people, I find that they're, lacking in that department. And so what we do is we try to help them across, those skill sets to achieve, not only common goals, but really look at ways of improving their ability to get things across, if that makes any sense.
So what do you find, and I know this is going to change, right, from company to company, size of company, the founders, how many startups they've had or otherwise. I mean, I know there's a lot of variables, but I know certain themes tend to arise. So what do you find are some of the current, common mistakes that you find? Like, as soon as you get into that new startup and you're starting your training program or kind of taking through things, and certain things they just stick out often, I bet you.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I find interesting and sometimes challenging especially for new managers, is the shift between having worked as a sole contributor and then moving over into either supervisory or manager role. That change, of many other changes that occur within a corporate entity or environment, seems to be, I think, for me, one of the most pressing ones, where they lose sight of the fact that they're no longer in a collaborative, peer-to-peer situation, and now have to move over to a supervisory set of responsibilities that task them to do things that they're not really comfortable with. whether it's conducting a performance review, whether it's giving someone, feedback that they may not want to hear, or whether it's looking at someone who has a skill set that doesn't exist, that requires some level of education or training, and trying to move them across the gamut of increasing their skill set. So I think newer managers and even managers who have some level of experience aren't really sometimes prepared to deal with the more human aspect of business rather than just the traditional hardcore set of business requirements. And we can quote a cliche, a company's made up of people and not product, but that's sometimes more of a cliche and actually more of a hard fact. And especially now where we're moving to more technologically based services, it seems to me that we are still left in sort of like this desert, a melange of individuals who really struggle to really keep a human perspective on how to deal with people and human situations.
Wow, I feel like you just now punched many people in the gut just now, including myself, because I was like, oh, man, this guy doesn't know me. He doesn't know me.
Yeah, I know.
I'm why are you talking about me like that, Efraim? Just because we grew a little and I didn't have those management skills and I made some mistakes? This guy doesn't know me.
I'll give you a perfect example. I think the easiest way of
me. I'm my example. I'm telling my audience I messed up. I made every mistake that that's our example. No, I did. I'm okay with that. My audience knows this. It's all right. But I'm laughing because I know some of them right now got punched in the gut too. So I'm I'm trying to ease the pain for them.
No, I hear you. I think a good example is if you're going to McDonald's and you order some French fries, right? French fries, well, not just French fries, although McDonald's really does serve some really cool French fries. But if you order a hamburger and French fries and a soda, where I see where the litmus test is, whether the person actually looks you in the eyes, and whether they're courteous, and whether they're friendly and thank you for the for their business. It seems to me that level of just simple human interaction is not even existent these days across a varied degree of different services and products and environments. But you don't see that anymore. I think that skill, that common sense skill that we have been taught since childhood has begun to dissipate and not really stick. And I feel a little saddened by some of what I've seen with the younger generation, who again don't really focus on the traditional soft skills that we as adults are really need to just survive.
So what do you think, and is there any low-hanging fruit, like something that somebody that's listening to this today can start thinking about working on, or mind shift, or something that a tool, something that, and again, not expecting any magic bullets or whatever, but is there something that somebody can use a day, they can go back and start reevaluating how they're thinking or something, I don't know.
Yeah, let me put it to you this way. I think about what my mom always told me when I was a kid. You reap what you sow. Think of it that way. If you look at the golden rule, which is treat others like you would like them to treat yourself, right? I think that not to get any philosophically religious or even talk about that topic, but in these days, you never know who you're going to see on the way up, and vice versa. You never know who you're going to see on the way down. And if you think from that vantage point and that point of view, I think that's a good perspective to utilize when you're interacting with people. Keep it simple, keep it humane, keep it friendly, even when you're engaging in very sensitive topics, so that when you are on the other side of that fence, you can see the perspective that's required to have in order to make the engagement that much more, how do you say, smooth, right? Yeah. Think about just of the simple things that you need to tell people in a very direct way as opposed to an indirect way. If that makes any sense. So.
No, that's awesome. I love it, and I think I think those, and that does, again, we're not going to solve everybody's everything in one podcast episode. But that being said, I think that's a really actionable item that people can start working on and thinking of. And I love that you brought the golden rule because that I mean that's the basis of everything in my opinion. So I'm a fan of that. So that being said, so Efraim, if somebody is listening to this and they want more information and they want to learn more about action at a distance, so two-part question. So what are the right types of companies? Is there any specific industries you like working with, or size of company, or anything else like that? Like whatever your criteria is for what works well. Yeah. And then part two of the question is what's the best way for them to follow up with you and your team?
Yeah. So I like working with, like I said earlier, startups, companies that have a very young in terms of just the demographic. Group or audience size that really need just help with helping young managers manage the business. And then if they want to see more information, they can go to actionatadistance.com. That's actionatadistance.com, and they'll be able to see more of my work and what I do with my team.
All right. And what was that website again? Because people they're waiting. They're trying to get their pen ready. They're getting all that other stuff, and we want them to go check it out. So it's Action at a Distance.
Yep. www.actionatadistance.com.
All right, perfect. Well, Efraim, really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Likewise,
and sharing more about your background, all the great things that you're doing at Action at a Distance to help our startups out there and our founders and to help us. So thank you for that. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave a review in the Apple iTunes store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Startup Garage, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments on the video. I'd love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Efraim, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.